Hello and welcome to today's lesson where we're looking at creating a business strategy using the strategy diamond model. So we'll look at what the model is, how to use it, and we'll also look at an example at the end of this video. So a strategy diamond provides a simple way to show how the different parts of an organization's strategy fit together. Now, the word strategy is very often misused. Because of this, let's spend a few minutes making sure we understand exactly what strategy is. Now, you may have heard that Dell's strategy is to sell directly to consumers, or that many service businesses have an acquisition strategy. Now, what's interesting about these strategies is that they're not actually strategies. Rather, they're components of a strategy. Now, the word strategy comes from the Greek words strategos, and that means the general's art. So in essence, strategy is the orchestration of the whole to achieve a goal, which in the case of a general is obviously to win the war. So let's look at strategy in the context of an organization to make it easy to really understand exactly what strategy is. So as you can see from this diagram, strategy creation has two inputs. So the first input is things like your mission and your purpose and the values of the organization. And the second input is your strategic analysis. And this is the analysis you do of things like industry trends, wider trends out there in the world, what your competitors are doing, and even what your own strengths and weaknesses are. So from these two big inputs, you craft your strategy. And from your strategy, you then set up your organization to execute your strategy. And that means all the practical details of how the business or organization runs. So what people you're going to employ, what your organizational structure will be, how you're going to reward people, all the practical details you need to get things done and make your strategy a reality. Now, the strategy diamond doesn't only apply to the very top of an organization, it can apply at all levels of an organization. So, the executive board might complete a strategy diamond at the top level for the whole organization, and then at the mid level, a business unit could then take this strategy and use it to craft their own strategy. Now, that strategy would be appropriate for them, and it would reference the original strategy, so feed into the higher level strategy. Now, the organization can repeat this at every level of that organization, and in this way, the strategy cascades throughout the entire organization, forming an integrated strategy at all levels of the organization. Now, the beauty of the strategy diamond is that it can apply whether you work for a company with 100,000 employees or whether you're just one solo employee in your own company. So the strategy diamond model consists of answering 5 questions. By walking through the 5 questions of the strategy diamond, we create a better strategy. When we answer all 5 of the questions, we'll be able to see if our strategy forms an integrated whole. And from this, we'll be able to see where our strategy requires further work or where it needs to be redone. So let's look at each question in turn. So the first question of the strategy diamond an organization must answer is, where will we be active? Now, the mistake many organizations make here is to be really generic. So for example, they might say, we want to be the #1 consulting firm. But this is more of a vision statement than a strategy. So to avoid this trap, it's really important to be very specific when describing the arenas you will be active in. And you can do this by answering the following questions. Which product categories will we compete in? Which channels will we use? Which market segments will we target? Which geographic areas should we target? Which core technologies will we use? And which value creation stages will we emphasize? And I'll touch on that a little later. So when specifying these arenas, it's important to emphasize their importance because not all arenas are the same. So for example, your strategy might be to focus on a single geography or country, but you may also sell in other geographies. But you maybe do that because it's logistically easy, but your core strategy is to focus on just, that one market. So the second question is, how will we get there? And this is where you specify what vehicle you're going to use to arrive at your destination. So how are we going to get from where we are now to where we want to be? So some answers to this might be you could use joint ventures, you could use acquisitions, licensing partnerships, franchising, or build the solution in-house. So again, be as specific as you can. So suppose you identified you want to enter a brand new product category. You should specify whether you'll buy this capability or whether you'll build the capability in-house. Now, the trick to using the strategy diamond is to don't make this decision on an ad hoc basis. So instead look to build up a logical strategy. So for example, if you've only ever built solutions in-house, then be honest with yourself, admit that maybe acquisition isn't the right approach for you. So the next question looks at how will we win in the marketplace? So how are you different from the competition? What are the unique selling propositions of your product? What is it about you that will enable you to win in the marketplace? Now, differentiation must be at the core of your strategy. If you can't find a way to differentiate yourself, then how can you win? Well, the answer is that you can't. But some common methods of differentiation include price, quality, reliability and durability, speed to market, customer service. Now, it's important to determine your differentiators as soon as you can. And the reason for this is that differentiation doesn't just happen by magic. If you want the best customer service, you'll have to spend time and money building that capability. And likewise, if you want the best designed product, you'll have to invest in your design team so you have the capability to achieve that. Now, in the first three questions, we determined what we want to do. But this fourth question is about determining the moves you'll take to get there. Now, going back to our general for a moment, when the general is fighting a war, they don't advance all of their armies on all fronts at the same time. Instead, some advance first and they'll be followed by others and then others. Now, as in war, staging is important in business. There are lots of stories of companies that expanded too fast before they were ready. Now, most of these companies are no longer around, and that should help you realize the importance of staging. Now, your strategy needs to progress from one step to the next to the next. Otherwise, you risk getting ahead of yourself. You risk taking on more than you can manage. You risk ultimately going out of business. So, key questions to ask during this question are, what sequence of steps should we take and what speed should we take these steps? Now, oftentimes you don't need to have all the steps laid out. You just need to know the next one or two steps. What are we going to do this quarter? What are we going to try and achieve this half or this year? Now, the final part of the strategy diamond pulls everything together with one aim, and that is profit. Now, in a nutshell, this section comes down to competing on a low cost or on a high cost basis. Now, you might compete on a low cost basis because you have economies of scale or because you have lower replication costs. You might compete on a high cost basis because you have great design or unique product features, for example. So let's look at two examples of economic logic to make this a little bit clearer. So in terms of low cost, Ryanair can transport customers at a lower cost per mile than any other airline in Europe. And that's their low-cost economic logic. Apple, on the other hand, can charge very high prices because their customers are willing to pay more for their unique design. If you choose not to purchase an Apple product, you can't replicate that with some other product. So, to have a brilliant strategy, the 5 parts of the diamond must not only align, they must reinforce each other. So let's look at a quick example to make this clear. So IKEA offers inexpensive Scandinavian designed furniture through its retail stores. And as you're aware, most of the furniture requires home assembly. Now, the elements of their strategy diamond are shown in the image here. And as you can see, IKEA's arena is young people to whom they sell inexpensive furniture. Their vehicle is through wholly owned stores. Their differentiators are low price, reliable quality, and in-house design. And finally, their economic logic comes from economies of scale and replication efficiencies. Now, this is really unlike traditional furniture retailers who sell ready assembled furniture, where their furniture is, expensive and fulfillment is usually very slow, where you maybe have to wait weeks for delivery. Now, what makes IKEA's strategy very special is the way each element reinforces each other. So, for example, their target market of young people is very closely aligned with their low price differentiator. Also, their reliable quality shopping experience aligns very closely with having wholly owned stores where you can create the experience you want in store too. So it would be impossible to achieve this experience if they were to, say, launch in a new country and try and partner with existing furniture stores where they just occupy the section of the store. Completely impossible. And that's why they choose in their strategy to have wholly owned stores. So in summary, a strategy diamond provides a simple way to show how the different parts of an organization's strategy fit together. It's basically a checklist of the things you must have to have a complete strategy. And as we've been through, the 5 parts are: where will we be active? How will we get there? How will we win in the marketplace? What will be our speed and sequence of moves? And how will we make a return? And as with the IKEA example, to have a great strategy, all the parts of the diamond must support and reinforce each other. So that's it for today's lesson. Hope you really enjoyed it, and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.